The next assessment we're going to talk about today is the biVABA, or the Brain Injury Visual Assessment Battery for Adults. This was developed by Mary Warren and does not have strict norms or strict testing procedures where you have to use exact words. What it does produce from the results that you establish in the manual, it provides you with treatment intervention suggestions based on the way the patient responds to different parts of the biVABA.
And there's one more assessment out in the hallway called the scan course. So I will go out there when we demonstrate that.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you get started and show us how each of these subtests work.
Okay, I'm just going to go over these very briefly. The first one here is the contrast sensitivity test, which you actually saw when we covered the Rancho clinical vision screening. Okay, so you all are familiar with that. That's the ability to discern foreground and background, which might be significant if someone is walking and they can't discern when there is a curb or a curb cut, as
Or
an
steps.
example. Or steps, exactly. Okay, the next test that you see here is the eye dominance test, and this is very simple to do. As the examiner, I would hold up a card, it's just a picture of a clock in this case, and ask the person to look at it through this hole in this card. And so I would say, okay, test is done. All you're looking to see in this test is which hand, or which eye, the patient being tested places the hole in front of, because that is the eye dominance. That is the dominant eye. So I am left eye dominant in this case.
It's just like if you ask someone to sign their name, they're going to automatically go with their dominant hand.
Exactly. Okay, two acuity tests here, which work very similarly to what you saw us do with the Rancho vision screening, is the intermediate acuity test. And this board is done. What's nice about the biVABA is it has built-in distances that you are supposed to be testing from. So for this one, the patient would be putting this little thing over their eye, one eye, and then read the various numbers. And you can see how they go from very large, to much smaller to very small. Okay, but that's because we're testing from we're getting the same information that we got from the Snellen chart, but we're testing from a much closer distance, so the numbers are much smaller. The near acuity is like the reading test, and so this is done. In fact, we have a Spanish one here, and this is done so that it's about 16 inches from the person who's doing the reading. And then you ask them to read the different lines. For example, el gato se metió en sarro. How was that? That was my limit of Spanish right there. And then you can see it gets smaller and smaller until you reach normal reading vision.
And then it gives you the ranges on the side.
Yep.
Let's get a close-up of that.
Okay. Okay, so it has similar things like 2200, 2320, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is a scan board, and this tests the patient's ability to scan back and forth and to look for numbers. So if, for example, I was to say, show me the numbers from 0 to 9, it would have the patient moving across different planes here, or different quadrants in the visual field. Okay? And then our last three here are different types of searching tests. So what we have here is what's called the structured complex circle search. When the patient is asked to look at this one and then identify when they see a circle with this diagonal line in it down here. Okay? And then the answers, the correct answers, are on this side.
So there's this special marker that the patient uses to circle the correct answers.
And then you could count how many they had and compare it to the back side. Other searching strategies that are being assessed here are, can they pick out single letters? So in this case, you would ask the patient to pick out the P's and the F's in this maze of letters. And the same thing, the correct answers are here in white without the bold on the back side.
As the answer key.
Yeah. And then on this other one, this is a little bit different in that these were letters, and this is now a word search. And here you ask them to pick out each time they see the word the or they see the word at. Okay, so they would go through this, and you would look at their searching strategies. Do they have an organized strategy? You know, are they just looking all over the place, or are they going this way and then this way? So you're looking at strategies here, which is a little bit different component than just straight vision. And then once again, the answers are in white on the back.
So let's check out the last one, the scan course out into the hallway. Jane, so I'll follow you out there.
Okay.
And this is more of a dynamic assessment, and it requires the patient's mobility because they do have to move from point A to point B. So we've set up the scan course in the hallway, and you can see there's Post-it notes with numbers on both sides. So Jane, how would you do this assessment?
Okay, when you'd be walking with the patient, you would be asking them to identify the numbers, and they are placed randomly on each side. So this would be, I'd be saying 17, 16, 18, 8, 11, 6, 14, 15, 19, 2, 8, 14, 20, 10, and 13. So this would be very significant in terms of safely navigating a larger environment. For example, if you're walking down the street and you're able to scan to both sides, you'll be safer in terms of walking. You won't be a target for vehicles that may be approaching and not know that the person does not have that scanning capability.